Hello, Johnny London here once again. Now, my last chat might have been a little bit negative, a little bit doomy and gloomy. It's just how things were for me at the time. But as you can see, we've got the weather today. I think we're finally coming into that glorious summer season, and it's at this time of year that my mind turns to all things boaty. And with that on the agenda, this is my top 10 best things about living on a narrowboat. So number 10 then, the great sense of freedom, the sense of freedom that you can only get from your own narrowboat. It's that feeling of being able to go anywhere and do anything at just about any time. Is that true? Yes, by and large it is. If you've got a narrowboat, you certainly will experience a jolly good sense of freedom with a little bit of adventure thrown in for good measure. If you're after escaping the daily grind, I can think of no better way to do it. Number 9 is outside space. Now, as you can see, I'm sat here in my garden and that's all good and well. It's a cracking little garden. I've got plenty of trees and shrubs and I enjoy it here very much. I wouldn't be without it. But when you're on a narrowboat, the one thing you've got absolutely an abundance of is just that, outside space. And the best thing of all about it is that you don't have to do the maintenance. Once in a while, the CRT man might come past with his mower and what have you, keep the banks sort of navigable and that kind of thing. But by and large, everything just seems to take care of itself and you can sit back and enjoy the view. Continuing on a naturey theme, we have the change of seasons and being in touch with them. If there's one thing you'll notice when you're on a boat, it'll be that first chill in the air or that first sort of slightly frosty morning. Maybe you'll spot the first blossoms in spring and maybe you'll catch the first leaves starting to turn in the autumn. So be it a crisp winter's day cruise or a beautiful summer's afternoon moored up somewhere ideal, you really can't go too far wrong on a narrowboat. And I, for one, would certainly never want to be locked away in some office building all season long, missing out on all that nature has to offer. Number 7. Always having your home with you, and this really is an integral part of narrowboating. You see, wherever you lay your hat or tie your ropes really is your home. You're likely to have most of your things with you. You'll have that sense of being at home, even if you've been out for the day yomping or exploring a new town, what have you. You'll be able to come back to your own comfortable saloon, your own fireside and your own home cooked food, and of course your own bed. And you just can't get that even in the best hotels in the world. Number 6, and continuing on an outdoorsy kind of theme, is the fresh air and the peace. It's always pictured like that on the TV and on YouTube, and do you know what? It actually is just like that. You really can have a good share of freedom and fresh air when you're out on your boat, and the fresh air in the countryside certainly does smell an awful lot better than that horrible town stuff, unless you've got cows. Number 5, fewer bills. Well, maybe. Now, it is true that if you live exclusively on a boat and you don't have a property anymore, that you won't be paying any council tax. You also won't have to pay any water rates as well, and they've gone up a lot in recent years, haven't they? You do have to have a CRT licence, so that's a kind of equivalent of those two things in a way, but they should work out a lot less. The rest of your bills, well, you will still be generating electricity and moving about, so you will have to pay for some things, but it will seem a lot less complicated and you'll seem a lot freer, and generally things will work out a lot better value. So yes, you can certainly save a few bob when you're living the idyll. Number 4, no junk mail. No letterbox. No mail at all, really. Number 3, and I really do have to say this is a particular favourite of mine, it's the solar. On a day like this, you can just sit back and enjoy. You'll get as much free power as you'll need. It could be a hot day, the fridge will be working hard, keeping all that lovely beer nice and cold, won't it? But of course, it's those sort of days when you get the most power available to you from the sun. So nature has a great way of compensating for these things. So for me, anybody who's out on a boat, unless you're cruising every single day or you're in a marina never cruising, then you want to have as much solar as you possibly can. It's the next best thing to actual magic. And in at this week's number 1 is Staying Out for the Summer. And that was a hit record by Dodgy, if you're old enough to remember that one. Now, what do I mean by staying out for the summer? Well, it's simple. When I used to be on my narrowboat, I'd get up of a morning and I'd see all the people sort of scurrying past along the towpath with their hiking bags and their bicycles and all this, that and the other, off for a fantastic day out, a fantastic adventure, be it fishing, hiking, what have you. And come evening time, you start to see those same people making their way back, and it even gets sort of dusk and you see, you know, the last few stragglers having enjoyed a good long day out. But for me, that was when things were just really getting started. Everybody goes home and you've got the whole canal to yourself. It's just fantastic, and it really is the nearest thing to an endless summer that you possibly can get. And yes, Endless Summer was by the Beach Boys. And if you're wondering what on earth happened to number 2, well, this is it, of course. You get to do YouTube, but only if you want to. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little meander through some of the better things about narrowboating, and I shall see you all again in the not too distant. In the meantime, bye for now.